Everybody needs to go make an offer today now.
What's up, everyone? We just finished Ask Alex number 36, and this was an important webinar talking about the art of the offer. We're making offers over here daily in our business, and it is the most important part of keeping the business moving. Alex, what were the biggest takeaways of your webinar?
Oh, it was a fantastic webinar. I'm so glad we got to share this with the tribe, because making offers is, like you said, one of the most important, if not the most important thing that you can do as an investor. And so we shared how to make offers, we shared the details, and then we also shared how it's different based on where the opportunity is coming from. But to really get the details, watch a webinar. It's fire. What's up, my deal makers? Hope you guys are doing fantastic. We're about to get going pretty soon. Same bad channel, same bad time. It's get Will Wall in here. Everybody doing? Use the chat. Make sure that you guys are connecting with each other. This is why we do this webinar series, to make this business stronger, make this industry bigger and better. And there's my co-host, my right-hand man. How you doing, my man? I can't hear you yet.
What's up? What's up? How are you doing?
Good.
So I'm actually pretty excited about this week, because we're going over offers this week, and that's pretty much what we do, right? The bread and butter is sending out these offers, and that's how you take down deals. So should be a really fun webinar today. I know you were mentioning before, and I already see a couple of the regulars there in the chat. I see Rashawn and Roger and Lynn. Allison, please do go ahead and use the chat feature, right? Let us know, guys, where can we find you on Instagram if you're on the gram. If you haven't joined our Facebook group yet, I'll share the Facebook group link here in a second so that you guys can get connected. But please do go ahead and share right down there in the chat just where you're from and where you're coming from.
Give me a second. I gotta do something real quick. Well,
yeah. So again, guys, that's what we use the chat for, and what we use the Facebook group for as well, is so that we can stay connected outside of just our regular kind of Wednesday get together here. So I'm going to go ahead and share the Facebook group in here as everybody kind of gets loaded in and into the webinar. And then please do, if you guys get the chance, go ahead and join that Facebook group, and we can stay connected outside of today's webinar. So Alex, I know we're going to kind of dive in and do a little update on what's going on with you and what's new. But before then, again, I do just want to remind everybody, if you have any questions today about offers, use the Q&A feature. So we have the Q&A feature and the chat feature. They're both a little separate. Sometimes we'll lose the questions when they're coming in the chat, but if you use the Q&A feature, we can go ahead and get that. Just wanted to give a quick shout out again to Amari, Roger, Rashawn, Marina, Ulysses, Melissa, Lynn, everybody who's checking in with us, Iris, Edward, all of our regular folks that are checking in. And again, if you're new, go ahead and let us know where you're from. That way we know where to connect with you. So let's get things kicked off and started here, Alex. We're talking about the art of the offer. This should be fun, right?
Yeah, awesome. So, definitely just want to give you the clan, the tribe, the community here, our update to where I'm at right now. I'm still in Guadalajara, Mexico, down here, connected with my virtual assistants, with our virtual assistants, connected with my family, enjoying this vibrant, beautiful town. So still happy to be here. But tomorrow I will be leaving and flying over to Pensacola, going to a mastermind with Diego Corzo. He's somebody I met in Austin, Texas, about a week and a half, 2 weeks ago, and we just had a fantastic time. He rolled out the red carpet, and him and his partner Felipe Mejia, which is also a very successful investor, invited me out to go to their mastermind and present and to be part of that event and that group, and I accepted. So heading over there tomorrow morning, be there for 3 days, and then I'll be back in LA, going back to Cali on Sunday. So I'll be flying in on Sunday from Florida, and I'll be in LA for about 4 days. So just keep an eye out, guys. We are going to be announcing a barbecue. We're going to do a meetup. And so you got to be part of the Facebook group, though, to be invited. So make sure that you're on our private Facebook group for Ask Alex. And then what else we got going on? Oh, we got a new deal. We got a new deal, a new flip deal in the Valley, in my backyard, the San Fernando Valley, to be specific. I will be kind of taking a look at that deal as well. We are buying it occupied, but it's in the city of Winnetka, and I got it from a wholesaler that I've known for a while. He kind of owed me a deal, and since he knows that I'm from the Valley, and he's also from the Valley, this just was the right one. So we opened escrow on that one today, and it has a potential 6-figure spread. So really excited about that one. And then also, I've been working with Nicole down here in Guadalajara to expand our virtual team. We got 4 virtual assistants down here, but now we're looking to expand that and to even more because we're seeing a great return on our investment. And we just want to make sure the team keeps growing, and we're supporting the people in LA and Maui through our virtual assistants in Mexico. So doing a lot of that. So shout out to Nicole because she's doing an awesome job. She's such a superstar. Love working with her, and she's kind of leading the team and recruiting, bringing new people on. And then after LA, I'm going to be flying up to Seattle to speak at that event in Seattle. Fort Tall Yarber and a bunch of rock stars up there. But also one of the main reasons we're going up there is because I'm getting a fantastic relationship with the CEO of that hard money lending company, Certain Lending. So be able to spend some time with him up there in Seattle. And then I'm flying direct over to Maui, and which we're about to be ready to list our property, our flip over there. So shout out to the Hawaii team. They're crushing it. I know we're getting pretty close on our next deal there, and this one's moving along fast. So exciting times, man. I'm so happy and grateful to have all these rock stars and people like yourself, Will, and all these people in the community, and being able to influence and help everybody out get to where we're at, so then we can get to that next level as well.
And I know you mentioned it, a couple of deals in the pipeline. So definitely excited. And one of those deals that we currently have in the pipeline, just getting in there with tenants, right? So if you guys missed the last couple weeks ago, check the Facebook group. We have a link on there with all the past YouTube videos, and you can actually catch up, see the tenant negotiation discussion that we kind of had on that one. And, again, that's why Alex is comfortable purchasing homes with tenants in them, is because, we did 3 or 4 of them already this year, and it just takes a little bit of negotiation, a little bit of a different touch, but definitely something you want to catch up with over there in the Facebook group. And as Alex mentioned, that is where we will be posting the invitation. If you guys do want to come out and join us, we're going to be doing a little barbecue pool party meetup.
We're going to be swimming in the pool. We're going to be jumping in the pool, and everybody's going to be, getting crazy, man, have a couple of drinks, put one in the air. Let's go.
There you go. So enjoy that. And, again, exciting to see Alex when he's back here in California. So what we're talking about today, guys, is again, the art of the offer. And we'll kind of dive in a little bit more as to what that means. And, again, with that, Alex, like we can kind of dive right on in. What do you actually consider an official offer?
Yes, for sure. I think this question is very important because people get lost at the beginning of how to make offers, what constitutes an actual official offer. And there's so many different ways you can make an offer. So I just want to kind of, share that in this, in this webinar. I had this idea. I'm like, hey, people know they need to make offers, but who teaches people how to make offers? We don't get any instructions on, how to send the email, how to talk to the agent. It's difficult, and it's a nuance in this business. So what I consider an offer usually depends, right? The first thing I think to myself, is this an on-market opportunity, listed on the MLS for sale, or is this an off-market direct to sale and some other type of, opportunity, right? And then the next thing right behind that is I'm thinking, what are the details of this opportunity, right? Like, is this coming from a wholesaler? Is this coming from a direct mail piece? Is this coming from internet advertising lead? Where is this coming from? Because that to me dictates, and we'll be going through the details of this in the next question, but the source does dictate how you make your offer, right? So I want to know these things. And then I want to know, like, what are the terms of the opportunity, right? Like, how fast do we have to get our offer in? How fast do they want to close? What is the inspection period time that they will potentially allow for this particular opportunity? So these are all kind of things that you need to ask yourself when you're thinking about making an offer on a property, right? So that's what I would say. That's what constitutes an offer, because it depends on a couple of those things. And then you're going to be making an offer. Sometimes it's going to be a verbal offer. Sometimes it'll be more of a formal written offer that the listing agent on an MLS deal is going to be writing the offer. You have to sign it and send it over, and they present it to the seller. So there is a difference, but just know that there are a couple of things there that you need to know before you make an offer, in advance. That's some of the things that you need to know.
And on that note, Alex, we are going to actually go over an RPA agreement and a regular agreement today, just so you guys can kind of see what those specific terms are that Alex was just alluding to right there. Because again, those are kind of the things that will vary offer to offer. So Alex is going to kind of walk us through those as well a little bit later on.
Yeah, and I highly recommend every single one of you deal makers memorize, or maybe not memorize, but understand contracts really well. And maybe it's foreign territory at the beginning, but the more comfortable you are looking at a contract, whether that's an MLS contract or that's an off-market direct-to-seller purchase agreement, you need to know what those documents look like and what is said in each document and what the terms look like on each document. So that way you could explain those to the seller and you can feel comfortable signing a contract, knowing you have, once you open escrow and get that deal going, that you have an official deal and you're protected with that contract. So I think people get lazy sometimes. And that was actually one of the first things my second mentor mentioned to me, like, how well do you know the CAR contract, which is the California Association of Realtors contract? And frankly, even though I had been an agent in the past, I didn't really know it that well. But when you're making offers as an investor, crafting offers that, get considered is an art, and so you need to know what that looks like by knowing what the contract says, knowing all the verbiage on there. And then because you will get questions from people, and this will protect you in the event that you have to go to litigation or any type of court on that particular deal.
And, it's a big portion of it, right? Because we're putting in offers every day. And so we want to make sure that if we are making an offer, we know what is in the offer. We know how to walk through that offer. Like you said, I mean, if you're not confident explaining it to a seller, then they're probably not going to be confident, working with you on the deal. Would you agree?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. To me, it's just paperwork at this point. But when you're starting out or you haven't maybe done enough deals, it's still intimidating to get contracts signed and to review contracts with other parties or make offers through the MLS with aggressive terms, with like short inspection periods, with no inspection period. These are all things that you could eventually get to. But the more that you're familiar with the contracts and the more offers you make and the more deals you end up doing, the more comfortable you are writing more aggressive offers, which in this market you really need to do.
So you've mentioned that there's different like sources of offers, right? What does the process look like? Like, how does that kind of change based on the source of the deal?
Right. So I'm glad this is what the next step of what we're describing to the deal makers, which is, for example, we're going to go one by one. Let's start with MLS. So when you're making an MLS offer, sometimes that's a verbal offer, right? We look at a deal, we look at a listing, and then we determine that this is a potential. Let's assume the first one, for example, we're making an MLS offer. So the MLS offer could fall into a couple of categories. The MLS offer could be you're calling the listing agent, you're saying, hey, I reviewed this number. This is the type of property that we invest in and we buy in. After reviewing my numbers, this is kind of where I would need to fall into. I would need to fall into this price range to make an offer. Now, is that something you think your seller would entertain? Is that something you think that might get considered? And it's more of like a soft verbal offer that you're making, but it is still, to me, nonetheless an offer because you're making contact about an investment opportunity. You are talking to somebody that could present that offer or write it up officially. But so that would be like one example of MLS of making a verbal offer with the price range to an agent. Now, same example, MLS offer, hot listing, just hits the market. We know the area, we bought in the area. We'll go and call an agent and we're like, hey, we're ready to write an offer at this amount. And then we'll send them that email with our proof of funds, with our hard money letter, contact letter, proof that we can do deals with that lender along with my bank statement. And then we're also putting the terms in that email, and we're going to go through that. But this is the offer price, this is the offer terms, this is deposit, this is all the little other details to the CAR form. And then now they have official offer. They can officially write an offer on our behalf because now they have our information. So
Alex, that'll also differ depending on whether we're making that offer with the listing agent or with the buyer's agent as well, correct?
Correct. So our default, you guys, and I recommend you guys go the same way, is our order is this. We make an offer directly with the listing agent writing our offer for us because we have seen in the past that that's always going to give us the highest chances of getting a deal. Right below that, we try to get them to send us a referral of someone they want us to write the offer through, like a friend, somebody in their office. Oftentimes the listing agent doesn't really want to get their hands dirty, or maybe they just feel like it's a little bit too close kind of connection of writing the offer for the buyer and the seller, because they're already the listing agent. So I would prefer to work with somebody in that listing agent's office than for me just to write an offer, with my own in-house agent, because I've also found that it'll still give me an inside track. It'll give me an advantage. So we go, that, and then our final option is we have an in-house agent that will write an offer for that property. And sometimes if it's a probate listing or it's some type of trust listing, maybe again, the listing agent doesn't want to refer anybody. They don't want to write the offer, and they let us write offer. But and I've seen a lot of newer investors or a lot of agent investors shoot themselves in the foot and not even get their offer considered because they're trying to get that commission. They're trying to, write that offer for themselves, and then they don't even get considered. I mean, there's the rules of the game and the way the game is played. So just make sure that you understand that that's kind of the way the game is played, right? And then any questions about that?
Yeah. Again, so we still have the two different kind of agents. So the one big thing that I want you to keep in mind, guys, and this is something that we went over with our team the other day as well, is just when you submit your offer terms, that still is in our terms a soft offer, right, Alex? You have to actually sign that agreement for that to be considered a real offer.
Yeah, so let me explain that too. On MLS, when there's a lot of offers happening and the agent is being told that, hey, write my offer, another investor says the same thing, they might not actually physically go and type it up and write the offer until they already know where the kind of, they're shaking out all the people that are not that serious, and then they'll write the offer for, say, maybe the top 3 investors once they've kind of vetted everything out. So sometimes you will send them that offer terms with your proof of funds, with your hard money letter, with everything, and then they still won't actually write it, which is common. But when they do write it, then you sign it quickly, and they're just, now it's an official offer that they have to present to their seller. But yeah, sometimes they still won't write it even after you've talked to them, after you've emailed them to write the offer. Correct.
So that's a big distinction there, guys. Again, you need to make sure that on those MLS deals, you are signing that, RPA, the CAR form, and that is an official agreement for that to go through. So huge point there, Alex. And I know there's other channels, right? There's other sources that we can talk about as well. So how does this maybe differ if somebody is making a offer on like a cold call lead?
Yeah, so cold calling is unique in the aspect that you're speaking to the person, you're making a lot of phone calls, and then you eventually find someone that has some motivation, would consider reviewing an offer, right? At that point, we go kind of back to that verbal offer. We run our numbers and we say, hey, we kind of would need to be in this price range, or or perhaps, which isn't really that common, but you will have the seller tell you what they would accept, and then you have to kind of go back, because sometimes it will take like 2 or 3 phone calls. Now it's you see a lot of people advertise or promote that, they're locking up deals in 7 minutes. They talk to that person, and then they got to review the contract, they got to sign all in that one call. I just have not seen that in the competitive markets that we operate in Southern California and Hawaii. I haven't seen that in my experience. It's been like I cold call someone, they do have genuine interest. We talk about numbers, so at least we're in the ballpark. And then, we potentially go look at the property. Once we go look at the property, we sharpen our pencils and we run our numbers and we give them an official offer then. So there's a bit of a process there, kind of an ebb and flow back and forth that happens through that type of channel. But there are times that, hey, they are really motivated and say, give me this price and I will take your offer. And we run numbers and they're like, yeah, that would work. And then when in doubt, go ahead and lock up the deal. It's the protocol we go by. If it's close enough, lock it up, and then we can go and look at the property and then reevaluate and then adjust our numbers based on new information if that's what we see on that deal. But yeah, it's your price. They tell us the price, because ideally in cold calls you want the seller to give you a price, but if not, then we go by the default of just making an offer range, so we're in the ballpark and we don't offend them. And then, we get considered and we figure out how motivated they are, and then potentially set up an in-person meeting and then go from there on that. But a lot of times on those type of situations, if you go through that process and you go to the property and you make the official offer, when you're making that official offer, it's really just like you're saying in the contract, hey, this is what we buy your property at. Now we've seen everything, like sign a contract and let's open escrow and move forward. So it's a little bit different in that way.
And I like how you mentioned that, right? Because it's almost like a soft offer at first on the phone. It's like, hey, would you come to bat at this number? And hey, if they're willing to go, then like you said, lock up that deal, get that under contract, and then you can go and figure out like, hey, do we need to maybe come back now that I've seen the place? But definitely a little bit different than an MLS deal, right? So, guys, if you missed my IGTV story, I went live last week, and I just shared my Instagram here in the chat. Feel free to go watch that, because again, you'll notice the difference when you're on the phone with people. A lot of times an offer can be as subtle as, hey, Mr. Seller, I'm assuming, you wouldn't take something like 250, right? And that is that's a verbal offer, and they might counter with you, oh, no way, I wouldn't take 250. I wouldn't take anything less than 280. Okay, well, you made an offer of 250 and they've now countered you at 280. So just like in a multiple seller counter offer or an agreement with an agent on the MLS, you can do those negotiations verbally with the seller, and it will be a little bit different than it would be on say an MLS lead, right, Alex?
Yeah, and let me share this like ninja trick that I know you use often, I've used often, I learned, which is saying things like, say for example that you know that you would need to buy this house between 350 and 400,000. I will say things like, well, my number would start with like a high 3 or low 4. I might say something like that. So I'm not really giving them a number. A high 3 could be 367. It could be 399. A low 4 could be 427. It could be 401. So you can use things like that to kind of dangle the carrot, so to speak, and allow them to kind of like digest that a little bit and see if that would work for them. Now, if they're like, no, I would have to get like at least mid 4s or high 4s. Now you're talking, but you're not giving exact numbers. And then you're getting used to like talking with numbers, with sellers, with agents. And that's a very valuable skill to continue to develop.
Very valuable skill. So how's it differ if you're talking about maybe a PPC lead?
PPC, I think in those instances, just it's like a direct to seller kind of on steroids. They've gone through the hoops and they're really searching to sell their property fast. Usually they have a situation, and so those you need to just like super fast. You need to run numbers fast. You need to set up appointments fast. You need to make those offers fast. Like everything is like on steroids. It's much faster pace. So on PPC, I would just really, you got to call them back quickly. You got to get them on the phone. You got to have those conversations, and things are just going to get used to moving at a much faster pace than an MLS offer that could drag out for a week or two before where that's going to land, or a cold call lead that you got to be following up with for a couple of months, to be at the right timeline for that seller. So yeah, PPC is just notoriously just a much faster in my experience. So it's everything we discussed applies, but just at a much faster pace.
Would you say the same thing kind of applies to like a direct mail, where again, those people have already, maybe gone through a couple of hoops, decided, hey, I need to get in touch with Alex. I need to sell my property?
Yeah, I would say it's right below PPC. PPC would probably be, internet lead, not only PPC, but just internet leads in general tend to be those that want to move fast. Direct mail, I've kind of seen them in one or two categories. They're either just kind of fishing, checking out, they're interested, but they're not like super motivated. And the ones are like, hey, yeah, I'm pretty serious about this. Like you mailed me and like, look, I like what you're saying. Like, let's talk about it. Let's engage in conversation and then, put the deal together. But it is a little bit more like they know who you are. They know you spent money on mail to them, and then usually you've mailed to them more than one time. So it is one of those things that it is like, just get to it. They're serious.
Now, I guess you would probably have a little bit different of an offer strategy with a realtor if they have maybe something like a pocket listing or something off market than if this is already on the MLS and already live, correct?
Yeah, exactly. So we get that often, and that's why I tell a lot of the new investors, when you think the long road, you think the big picture, you're building relationships for years, and then that relationship will continue to bear fruit in your business. And I've seen that in our business where we get these pocket listings. We got that one in Inglewood, right? Where, recently we have somebody that knows the listing agent. They're related to the listing agent. So even though it is a live listing, we have an inside track. I get on a regular basis, hey, calls from other agents that I've gotten paid and done deals with, and they'll say, hey, are you still buying? Yes, I'm still buying. What you got? And then, so I have this off-market deal. I'm kind of working it. It looks like it's a hoarder situation. What do you think you could pay for this property? They give me an address, and we go through it. So it's a very, I would say, it's like we're rolling out the red carpet. We're getting back to that agent quickly. We're treating them nicely. We're, potentially putting them just in that category of like, hey, maybe it's someone we want to take, out for dinner or for lunch or something like that, because they're providing us, opportunities like this. So it's just more of a, I guess, just again, a red carpet treatment. Like, hey, you get back to them quickly, and then give them the numbers. And in those situations, we would just. And what's great about those situations is what I have found is that they're going to give you a lot of information. So they're going to come, loaded with the whole scoop, and then it's just going to be up to you to like run your numbers and get back to them. Hey, this is where I would need to be at, or hey, I need to see the property. I'm very interested. But those are golden opportunities, so you really want to maximize those. That's what I would say about those opportunities.
Quick timeline, quick turnaround, like you said, because again, this is a pre-listing, right? This agent is either going to list this property, or if you can come to terms before then, that's amendable to the seller, then, they can skip that process. The agent can still get paid. So I agree with what you said. They're very red carpet, white glove treatment is what we call it. We want to make sure that those agents, when they're bringing us those off-market opportunities, we're getting right back to them quickly and immediately, because, again, we're thankful that they're thinking of us first in these types of opportunities.
Yeah, right? Imagine like a dozen of those people working for you in the back end. You're, not even thinking about it. It's just icing on the cake, dude. Like, it really is. So I love those calls.
Now, a wholesaler, same thing, right? If a wholesaler is sending you a deal, you're probably going to have a different type of an offer process than if it's a cold call or if it's an MLS lead. So what are you kind of doing on an offer to a wholesaler, Alex?
Yeah, so that depends if I know the wholesaler or not. So that would also be a caveat, which is if we know the wholesaler and they're vetted, there's someone we've done business or want to do business with, and we like the way they do business, as we know in this business, wholesalers get a bad reputation for certain reasons, right? And so let's assume that if this is somebody that I know well, then I will use a very similar strategy as a pocket listing of the, hey, rolling out the red carpet. Maybe not as much, because I know they're probably just, they're trying to get their fee, and they're trying to make money. It's a little bit more of a like business to business, I want to say, kind of transaction. And so with those, I just, it's really kind of more of a yes or no, or what my number is, right? So if they say, hey, Alex, I got this deal, we want to sell it for $350, what do you think? I'll look at the deal, say, I can pay $330 for it. Thanks for the opportunity, appreciate it. And it's more of just kind of like, just rip the Band-Aid off. You don't have to do the red carpet treatment. I mean, obviously you want to show them respect and thank them for the opportunity, but many times, like, it doesn't matter whether I know that wholesaler or not, they're still going to shop it around anyway. So, but if I know they're only giving it to me and it's like exclusive deal and they're giving me dibs at it, then, I will treat it, give them a little bit more of that red carpet treatment, like we just mentioned with the pocket listing with the realtor. Now, if it's a like wholesaler that I've never met, I don't know, I don't know anybody that knows them, then we'll take just a quick glance at that and then just shoot them a number and or ask any questions we want. And usually just it comes down to, hey, do we know this area? Are we interested in it? And it's just kind of yes, no, here's my number, or here's my number. And that's it on the wholesaler side.
So, again, definitely some different approaches on those. Even if you get like a social media lead or a relationship networking lead, probably going to be a little bit of a different offer flow there as well, correct?
Yeah. Social media, I get leads. I mean, I think we've bought 4 houses from social media over the last 2 years, and they've all been very profitable deals. So that's why we double down on social media. But with social media, most of the time, these people have already followed me. They know I'm a legitimate buyer. They know that we have a team. They kind of have an idea of what we're kind of working on. So they're pretty hot leads. So we get all of those right away, right? I screenshot it or something. I'll forward to you and say, hey, we'll jump all over this. Or Alex Ibarra, same thing, acquisitions director in Maui. So we'll send it to him and we'll get those leads kind of going. But those are hot leads too, because they're usually following us. They're usually somebody that knows what we're looking for. And so we jump all over those, and those are golden leads as well.
Huge. Again, Alex, thank you so much for kind of breaking down the different offers that we're making. And these are offers that you alluded to that, Alex Ibarra and I are making on the regular basis, right? Depending on where the lead comes from, where the opportunity comes from. So definitely, I think these are places where, you can make offers, right? And our goal is obviously to make as many offers as we can to get those accepted. So what about for you, Alex, if you're going to look at a property, are you ever doing that without having signed an offer?
Yeah, well, that depends too. Yes, of course. If we see genuine motivation, or it's a pocket listing, or it's just hot motivated seller, but they just don't really want to give us a number, we'll go to those appointments. We're not opposed to it. It's just not our preference. We'd rather do as much as we can virtual. But sometimes you get the best results just being belly to belly. So we do that often. But also we don't want to go to a point where we do a best job that we can in trying to get some type of number from them, because we don't want to get to the house and then it's like they want retail. Although even if we go and they want retail, but we build rapport, then we could just get a listing out of it. You get a referral kind of type of thing going there, right? So I don't think there's anything wrong with that. And especially when you're beginning, or maybe you're not overwhelmed with a bunch of like business and and all that. You should want to go look at more neighborhoods in your territory and look at more properties and meet more people in person, because all three of those are huge benefits as an investor. And I put in that work a lot on the front end, and that's why I'm familiar with so many different areas of LA, and that way I can make decisions and buy houses. Never seen them in LA at a high price point, because I've gone through a lot of different areas, and I know these areas intimately, and I've met a lot of people in person and influenced them to potentially consider me in the future as an investor that they would sell to. So these are all things that I want you guys to see. And it's almost, and then going a little bit, just kind of on a side note, it's almost like a priority pyramid where, if I got a hot lead from PPC, if someone's really motivated to sell and all that, that's going to be priority over a wholesaler lead of some guy that I don't know. So I think that's another thing. You need to be able to prioritize the order of your hot opportunities, hot, medium, cold, and not be spending time on a cold or like very low percentage opportunity compared to a very high percentage, opportunity. And I think I made that mistake in the past, and I don't want people to do that.
We talk about that often, right, Alex? The type of leads where it's like, hey, drop what you're doing, and like this is what you're focusing on. Like this is the one that could come around, and that might be the hottest lead in that you need to just kind of shoot up your ladder and make sure you're focusing on first, right?
We said the rule of 5. There's opportunities, you guys, that only need 5 seconds of your time, and you're like, nope. There's opportunities that need 5 minutes of your time to kind of go through it a little bit and vet it out. There's some that need 5 hours. And then once you get to deals, like it's some that might need 5 days of your time. But that's kind of like the way we run with it, where it's like, how much time does this opportunity really need of me based on how great the opportunity is, or how, as far as the, hot, medium, cold.
So skipping right along here, obviously one of the next, big questions that we want to kind of go over is why, right? Why do we track these offers that we're making?
Well, I think that the main thing is because we have seen in our business these boomerang opportunities, meaning like you send offers out and then somebody else gets a deal, but then they don't perform, and then what happens? It boomerangs comes right back to you. So you never get those if you're not making consistent offers. But there are people in this business that don't know what they're doing, and then that they could be writing a high offer and not perform, or they can write a high offer, try to renegotiate and reduce the price quite a lot, and then leaves bad taste in the seller or the agent's mouth, and then they don't want to work with that person, that investor, that wholesaler anymore. So we've seen that a lot of times where we get, at least half a dozen properties a year by that method alone, where we're getting callback and that property maybe never even goes back to active. They just call all the backup offers, and then we get the deal. We get an opportunity at that deal. And since we've already run numbers on it, we're able to kind of get back to that person quickly, because we know that's a hot opportunity. And then we're always trying to improve. So tracking offers allows you to improve as an investor, to see how far you were off, or maybe somebody did another type of exit strategy and they did an ADU or some type of other deal with the property. And we're just kind of watching the market, constantly having a pulse of the market. And it's hard to do that if you're not tracking, like, if you made 36 offers, what happened to those 36, deals? Like what was the outcome to that? And there's a lot of value from going back and looking at those numbers.
And we have our VA Nicole track that for us, so once a quarter, we usually go over our offers, and we can look on there and see, hey, you know what? We offered this much and we were only off by $5,000. I wonder why they accepted that other offer instead of ours. Maybe they had more time. Maybe they listened more. Maybe they had that extra term in there. So you can always kind of, again, I think, like you said, it helps us on our end, Alex Ibarra and I, when we're making the offers, it helps us improve significantly. I couldn't agree with you more there.
And if you're wholesaling, it also gives you more buyers. They know, you know, those are buyers. They buy the property, you competed on it, but maybe you find something else in that area and then you wholesale it to them because you know they're buying at a certain price. So I mean, there's a lot of value to it, tracking offers and going back and looking at what happened to these deals that you didn't get.
And I know, you know, on our end, we, you know, track our offers as well through our VA. So our VA actually tracks our offers through our CRM system. You know, she sets reminders, follow-ups, and then, you know, once a week, Alex, during our weekly meeting, we go over this stuff, right?
Yeah.
So we do our Money Monday meeting on Mondays, and one of our most important sections is, you know, hey, where are we at with our offers? What hot offers do we have? What hot leads do we have? And what do we need to do next to progress these offers into closed deals, right?
Yeah, exactly. Like I was on a call with Alex Ibarra 2 days ago. We were making an offer on a property that is an off market through a realtor contact that we got through text messaging actually. And he didn't consider maybe offering terms on the deal because, you know, we had to kind of be a little bit higher than the asking price. And so we just kind of discussed it for a couple of minutes and said, hey, why don't you offer them, you know, some terms where they can do a seller carryback. And then, you know, we have the funding on the island for that. And we just took down another deal like that. So why don't you consider that? And sometimes, you know, as deal makers and acquisitions, sometimes we forget, you know, we're just in the trenches pursuing deals. And sometimes we just forget to offer terms, and it could be something that could win the deal potentially, or help give us another exit strategy or another way to structure a deal, because so much of this business is about the way you structure deals. And part of that is making an offer, you know, right? You're structuring an offer and saying, hey, what about this offer? Or what about this offer? That's why it's really beneficial to like offer two different ways to that one person, where you're offering, you know, a cash deal and then, you know, a deal with maybe seller carrier or some type of terms. Now they're deciding whether to do one or the other rather than take your offer or not take your offer. So we definitely try to make more, you know, like dual offers or two offers to people as much as we can as well, if it fits the circumstances.
So again, I think sharing some big tips there, the boomerang deals. If you guys see that offer and you're like, you know what, somebody else already got that one, I'm not even going to make the offer. Dude, send in the offer. You know, you might get that backup spot. They might not perform. You know, you heard it right here from Alex himself. Like those are the boomerang.
And one more thing about that. Well, one more thing about that is I've done deals not under our current company, but when I was working as an acquisitions manager, from agents that I made an offer on a completely unrelated property twice. Meaning, like, I made an offer on this property, didn't get it, and this agent called me a month later, 2 months later, and gave me another deal that we did buy that was completely unrelated. It was just the only relation was that they saw me as an investor. I made an offer, and then, you know, they thought of me and they called me down the road. So you don't get any of
it happened to me too. I mean, the property we got in Lancaster, that was a relationship where I didn't make an offer on a property because it wasn't in our box. But because of me explaining my box so well to that agent, when another property came up right in her plate that fit that, you know, it was a no-brainer, and we were able to kind of take that one down. So yeah, again, those are the boomerang opportunities that don't even happen on that deal, but maybe the next deal or the next deal down the line, right?
Exactly.
Cool, man. Those are some killer ninja tips. I know, I'm sure, in fact, there's a lot of folks here in the webinar, over 50 people in here today. So if you guys are getting some value out of these tips, these deal tricks that Alex is kind of sharing here today, go ahead and let us know in the chat, and we'll keep on going here. A little bit more on the tracking side, Alex, but how many offers are we making a day, and how many offers do you find that it takes to take an offer to an actual deal?
Yeah, so we track this, and I have seen this number kind of change kind of per market as well, because we don't make as many offers in Hawaii as we do in California. But the simple version, and the simple metric we go by is really one offer a day per acquisition specialist. And right now we actually have 5 people in acquisitions, almost full time, or, you know, the majority of their work week is working on acquisitions. And so essentially we're making 5 offers a day. That's kind of the goal. So 1 offer a day per acquisition specialist. It sounds like it's not a lot, but some days it's harder. Some days, I mean, you could rifle off 2-3 offers easily. So that, and then we have found that about every 25 to 35 offers, right in that kind of range, we're likely to get a deal. So if we think about making 5 offers a day times like 20 working days, 22 working days, that's 100 offers a month. And then every 25 offers, I mean, that's where we can get 4 deals, because our goal is to scale this company to 50 deals a year. And to do that, we need to make enough offers to be able to lock up enough deals. So that's what we have found. But just because the offer doesn't get accepted, I mean, doesn't mean that we're moving forward either, right? I mean, I know you want to elaborate on that a little bit. That we're just because we get an offer accepted does not mean we're going to buy that house, right?
Yeah, and that was a huge thing for me, right? When I first started the real estate game, I wasn't aware that you could make an offer and get the offer accepted and then still walk away from the offer. I thought once it was accepted, it was said and done, but there's contingencies, there's releases, there's ways to get out of that. And so, once you kind of get that in your head that you can come back, you can negotiate, making an offer is easy, because even if you lock it up at a price, you can still come back and renegotiate and say, hey, you know what, based on that inspection contingency that I asked for, I inspected it and I looked back at the numbers and I can't buy it at this number. I need to get it reworked down to this number here. So really that, point when your offer is accepted is really when the negotiation just kind of starts, right?
Yeah. And that's such a super important point that I want to make an emphasis on it. Like, just because you make an offer doesn't mean you have to buy the house. There's ways for you to back out. Now you have to do it in a certain way so you don't get a bad rep. And there's a certain way that you go about doing that, which is like, hey, I intended to buy this property, but I got new information that made me change my offer, that I would have, if I would have had that information when I first made the offer, that I would not have made that offer, to begin with, or my number would have been different. And there's a way you communicate that. There's a way that you talk to agents and sellers of that, so it doesn't look like, hey, this person's shady. Because, just quick side note, the first mentor I worked for, that was his business model. He literally would lock up deals, and they were fantastic deals, and he would still try to renegotiate and nibble off or renegotiate or retrade, whatever you want to call it, 20 to 30,000 off that price, off already monster deals. I mean, he was a real savage, and I learned how to renegotiate deals from him, but I don't run that same business model, because he rubbed a lot of people the wrong way. I would see how we just not get any repeat business. And hey, man, everybody, different strokes for different folks. And I just don't want to have a bad name out there in the market, that I'm the person that would renegotiate every single deal. And people just, you get a bad name quickly on that. So yeah, he would do that, but just make sure that you pick your battles wisely. Now, I will say one more thing about that. Now, if it's a newer agent that maybe is just getting started, that has a listing, a fixer-upper, maybe you could show them the ropes a little bit and then, show them the game, right? And you get over on that person. But a very seasoned agent that's been through, all that shit, you don't want to play games with that person. So just pick your battles wisely.
And I like what you said there, Alex. It's, we don't go into the deal planning to renegotiate, right? We don't go into this planning to back out of the offer, but it's a pivot once we get that new information, right? And you said that in there. It's, hey, we got presented new information during this inspection period, and now that I figured things out, I really, I can't do that. So I think that's a big portion of it.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
So, again, I think we've gone over a couple of different styles of offers and the different kind of processes behind offers. What I'd love to do now is actually go over an actual contract, and kind of have you walk us through page by page on that, Alex, and kind of give us a little bit of insight here for maybe some of the deal makers that haven't submitted an offer yet in the room, so that we can kind of get an idea of what that looks like.
Sure. Let's go.
Let's go ahead and start with that. If you don't mind switching me over to host, I'll open up my page here, and we can start with you want to do an RPA first, or a standard offer that we?
Yeah, let's do the RPA first, because that one, I think, a little bit longer. The standard purchase agreement's easier, and we can go through that much quicker.
Cool. Let's go ahead and do that. Give me 1 second here, and I'm getting one opened up. I'll get my screen shared here for you guys. All right. Let me know if you guys are able to see my screen.
Bam, there you go. I can see it. You probably want to zoom in on that.
Yeah, I'm going to zoom in so we can see it here just a little bit better. So cool, guys. This is an offer that we had made back in April on a property out in La Puente. and Alex is going to kind of run us through what this looks like. In
Well,
terms of
this is a seller multiple counteroffer. Go to the RPA first pages. Yeah. So okay.
Yeah, we'll scroll down into the actual.
So start there. Go back up to the second page on this document.
Right here we go. Well, this page right here. There you go.
Yeah. So again, just read these documents. You can just read this document. It's about wire transfers. Okay.
Guys, you're gonna see some fraud disclosures, some notices, and some consent, some fair housing, positive practices, things like that. And that's the big thing that a lot of people kind of get caught up on, right, Alex? Because when you're looking at these pages here, these are pages that you might not typically see in a standard agreement that you're just writing up between you and a direct to seller, right?
Yeah. So like this disclosure regarding relationship agency, real estate agency relationship, just going in detail, like, as far as what the roles are kind of with, the agent and the seller and the buyer and all that. But not as important for what we're going through, but still nonetheless important. Again, I encourage you guys to go through these documents and then write down notes, ask questions to people, because some things are more important than others, but it is still very important that you just understand, like, this is a business. Like you need to know stuff like this. And if you want to make a lot of money, you want to sell a lot of houses, you want to, buy a lot of rentals, whatever it is, you need to know contracts like very well. So it's not an area that I love, but it's an area that I know extremely well because I don't want to get sued and I want to be protected. And then I want to craft offers that get considered and accepted. So it's that simple. All right. So possible representation of more than one buyer or seller is just letting you know, hey, I'm probably going to write an offer as a listing agent for more than one buyer potentially. And it's just closing that. You can't do that behind people's back. So pretty simple. Next. Okay, we already talked about that. Wire fraud and electronic funds. There's just a lot of wire fraud out there. Okay, so this is the first page you got coming up. You probably want to zoom in on this, Will.
Yep.
So this is the very first page where the terms are, right? Which is, okay, what date you're writing the offer. The offer is between, what party? That's our one of our buying entities, our CO LLC, and then real properties acquired, and you have the address there, the APN number, the purchase price written out and in a number format. So we tend to write offers that are a little bit more broken up. We don't write offers like 500,000 even. We'll write an offer for 501, 750. Just because we found that, hey, it just seems like, hey, we put a lot more thought into the offer compared to just a flat number. So that's a little kind of ninja trick.
This one, we had actually had a conversation with the agent and we were like, hopefully we get lucky and we get this deal. And they were like, oh yeah, hopefully you hit the 777s. So we put the 777s in on the offer just to kind of make a joke. So
yeah, and you'll see here on D, close of escrow could be on this date or 14 days after you accept my offer. So just understanding those little things, like, hey, maybe you guys want to close on a certain date, like before the end of the month, and then other times maybe what you want to do is you want to actually close certain days after you get that offer accepted. So there's a kind of a difference there. You go through E, buyer and seller refer to parties, brokers, not parties, so just how things are being referred to throughout the contract, disclosure, confirmation. So under B section, you see, okay, who's the selling brokerage and who's the buying brokerage? Seller's brokerage firms is the listing agent. They're the ones selling the property helping that seller sell that property. Buyer's brokerage firm is who's writing the offer for the buyer attempting to buy that property. And when you're writing offer with the listing agent, that name would be the same in both of those sections.
And this was one where actually the seller agent was not actually writing any offers for any buyers due to the relationship with the client. And so an agent brought us this deal. And because they brought us the deal, we said we were happy to kind of write that offer up with their representation. So here's where we start to get into the money part, Alex. And I know this is where people start paying attention, is dollars and cents. So what are we talking about here with the initial deposit?
So initial deposit, I think, has to be appropriate for the deal itself. And for example, we're working on a potential $1 million flip, right? And so we're not going to ask them to put a $5,000 deposit. I don't want to tie up more of my cash than I need to, but it does need to actually be appropriate for the offer. So I see a lot of people talk about, like, you could lock up deals for $100. Like, yeah, but that's from a seller that's not savvy, and you build massive rapport with them, and you maybe even built, negotiated seller terms, and it's $100,000 purchase. Like, okay, cool, I get it. But good luck trying to get $100 deposit on file for a $500,000 flip in LA. Like, that's just not going to happen.
And
So
on the $1 million deal, right? I just was negotiating with the seller and I asked him outright, I said, hey, what would the number be that you're most comfortable with? And he said, you know what? I think 15 to 20K would make us feel comfortable that you guys had the money to perform. And that's all it takes sometimes is asking people, hey, what do you feel comfortable with me putting down here?
fantastic point, because we want to put the least amount down. I just had to wire $15,000 for a wholesale deal because these guys want a higher deposit. I typically don't want the deposit higher than 5 or 7,500 because it just ties up money. We're in escrow for a month, 2 months. Sometimes it's just the money's just sitting there, not making any interest, not being invested into marketing, not being invested into the business. So you want to minimize that, but also you want your offer to be accepted and be taken seriously. So make sure you balance that out.
So that's an important part here. What about the all cash offer? What do we mean by that?
Just to let them know we're not getting a loan in place. Now, there's also kind of some tricks there a little bit where you could theoretically put that you're getting a loan like an non-conventional loan, a hard money loan, but it doesn't make you look any better, and it really is as good as cash anyway. So we just tell people we're cash, even though most of the time we're doing hard money. Because all it is just escrow, another document for escrow to record. It's not even that big of a deal. So we just say it's all cash. But yeah, if you were getting some type of loan, you would be putting the other sections. You would fill out those other sections. And look, guys, when you're flipping property or selling property, you also have to look at offers coming into you. So it's beneficial that you understand offers when they're going out, but then you're also going to have to review offers when someone's buying your property. So how are you gonna know if it's a solid offer if you don't even know how to craft your own good offers? so again, it's just multiple benefits.
Right? Yeah, you have to look at it both ways. So that's a huge point. Now I know down here we get to the balance of down payment due and purchase price, and all that is we're taking that total offer, we put down 5,000 to begin, and we're kind of balancing that out and saying that will be paid upon the completion of the purchase price there, right?
Uh-huh.
What are we talking about here on this next page?
So I think the more important ones would be appraisal, contingency, and removal. We usually don't have an appraisal contingency because we're not worried about the appraisal, but that is applicable when you're reselling the property. But that's for another webinar. Yep. And the main thing is I think it's an inspection period where I think you got to go down to number 14.
Yeah, inspection comes a little bit lower down, and that's the one that we usually keep. But like you mentioned on, typical cash offers, these will be blank. But to your point, Alex, you will want to know loan applications, loan periods, those types of things when those offers come back into you, because oftentimes your buyer is going to be using a loan to buy that home, correct?
Yeah, exactly. And then we try to tighten up our contingency periods for buyers. And when they're buying our property, why do you need, 21 days to know whether you're going to be able to get a loan or not? I thought you were qualified. So we try to tighten those numbers up for them. But on the flip side, when you're making offers as an investment, you have to really be confident in your rehab numbers. And you don't want too long of an inspection periods. I see people promoting, I had a 30-day inspection period or 30-day out clause. I mean, if you got savvy sellers or savvy agents, they're gonna shoot that down. They're gonna be like, that's garbage. We're not gonna give you a 30-day out clause. And so what we typically do is 2-3 days to inspect the property, and that's it. It basically communicates to them and say, hey, we're not gonna fuck around. We're gonna let you know quickly, if our numbers stick or if we need to change our numbers. And that's what your terms are. Sub-communicating that to the other party that, hey, this person's serious. They're putting down, a real number, and they're gonna, a short inspection period. Now, granted, if you need that 5 days, you need that 7 days, then ask for it and get it, or just put it in your terms. But what I'm trying to tell you is, in a competitive market, you gotta be able to tighten those numbers up on the offer side to get considered and for them to take you seriously.
Got to compete, right? So I know coming down into this next part here, Alex, what we're really kind of talking about is any addendums that might be attached into this form. And usually they'll check and let you know, hey, this is what's going to be, kind of checked in here. And in this case, our buyer's agent was even crediting a little bit of the commission that she was going to receive on the escrow.
Yeah. So there's additional terms there you can offer. Hey, we might be offering a seller rent back for 30 days. We might be so confident in the rehab that we'll just be releasing contingencies. We do that often. I don't recommend that for people that are just starting out, but I do recommend that you get aggressive with it. If you're confident in your numbers, that can make or break a deal if you have an inspection period or not. Now there's still other ways for you to get out, like not sending a deposit, but then you look kind of bad. So just be careful in the way you use release of contingencies. And then sometimes, the agents will tell you like, hey, if you no contingencies, you're at this number, like I think I could get you the deal. And that's where you gotta grab your cojones and figure out whether that's something you want to do or not.
Make it happen, right? So, again, some government requirements here. You have to decide who's going to take care. Usually smoke detectors and carbon monoxide are the big ones out here in California to make sure that you're, in compliance with those. And then escrow and title, usually you're going to have both buyer and seller paying their respective fees. Sometimes with wholesaler deals, the wholesalers will negotiate those terms in advance and offer to pay all of those fees just because they want to make the offer as attractive as they can to the seller there. So something to keep in mind there as well. Other costs as well here. This is just where the seller will usually end up paying most of the county transfer taxes and things like that where applicable. Coming down here, we're going to start getting into closing. So this is where we're going to actually let them know whether we are planning on occupying the property or not, right? Is this going to be an investment property or not?
Yeah, exactly.
Again, some more disclosures in here, just letting you know hazards and cancellation rights. Very standard language in here for a CAR form with the natural and environmental.
Just so you know, guys, like I literally signed these offers on my phone, in airports, in Ubers, in Airbnbs all the time. Like basically we'll be like, hey, I got this offer that we're sending out. Can you sign it? I look at my, and like literally in less than 10 minutes, I'm signing an offer to buy a house. So technology has just changed the game, you guys. And, but again, I know these forms really well, and I've trained my team to know these forms really well. So we can do this and operate at a much faster pace that you need to win deals in this business.
Once you've gone over these kind of clauses once, they're always going to be the same. And like Alex mentioned, it's number 14 is going to be the next one where we kind of start to tune in, because condition of the property for us isn't going to matter. That's why we're purchasing it in as is condition. Yeah. Buyer's investigation of property. Yeah, we did our investigation. We actually are, putting in our contract that we need 1 to 2 days to investigate it. And that's where you'll see that here in 14, right? So these are the time periods, removals of contingencies, and the first one is right here in B1, right? So what does that one mean, Alex?
Well, that means the buyer has let's read it. Buyer has 17 or if filled out 2 days after acceptance, unless otherwise agreed to in writing, to complete all buyer investigations, review all disclosures, reports, lease documents to be assumed by buyer pursuant to paragraph 8B5, which is, I assume is, based on the tenant, and other applicable information, which buyer receives from seller, and approve all matters affecting the property, delivered to seller, signed copies of statutory and lead disclosures and other disclosures delivered by seller in accordance with paragraph 10A. Essentially, that's the amount of time you have to get out because of the inspection period or renegotiate the deal. So we put 2 days there, and so we're very aggressive there.
And you nailed it, Alex. Like some offers, you have to be more aggressive based on the property and based on the competition levels. If everybody else is putting 1 to 2 days and you put 15 to 30 days, it's not likely to get accepted.
Yeah, and so another quick ninja tip on this is when you talk to the agent on situations like that, you want to say, well, hey, how fast are you going to be able to get the seller disclosures? Or you could ask the seller, hey, is there anything on the seller disclosures that are going to make or break the deal? Like, did somebody get murdered in the property? Did someone commit suicide? Because those are 2 deal breakers for us. Is there a mold, like active mold infestation? Like, there's certain things. Is there foundation cracks that they're not disclosing, that they're going to have to disclose in the sale of the transaction? Those are 3, kind of potential deal killers. And you could ask the agent and sound like a savvy investor by saying, hey man, is there anything on the disclosures? I just need a couple of days to make sure there's no crazy foundation issues and just have some type of peace of mind. But like, is there anything on disclosures that's gonna, that you need to disclose to me that you know about as an agent? And they'll be like, oh, well, no, there's nothing that's gonna kill the deal. I'm like, okay, cool. I just want to make sure, because I don't want to get a surprise down the road and then can't have to cancel this deal because it's something that you knew about that you're not letting me know now.
Huge. So, obviously we want to protect ourselves, Alex, and that's why we put in that 2 to 3 day window. On these properties, we might want to have another inspection out there, somebody else's second or third set of eyes, just to make sure that we are on point with our numbers there. So Again, we're looking at the removal of contingencies. This would be checked if there was no contingency. So if there's no time, that box would be checked, just letting you know, hey, this buyer has decided to remove all of their contingencies with this offer.
Yeah. And I got just kind of notes here. Side note, Will, I got a hard stop coming up in about 10 minutes.
Yep.
I know we're running a little bit late on this one, or a little bit long on this one, but I got a COVID test coming up. I have another meeting with family. I have another.
Yeah, no, we'll keep kind of cruising through this. We got a couple more pages here of really kind of important stuff. Guys, the next thing that we're looking at here is when you are looking at the close of escrow, you'll usually notice that, again, we choose to close our escrow in 14 days because that's how long it takes usually for Alex to get our money together, get our hard money together, and get that kind of stuff together there. But you're going to have the opportunity, if you want a final verification of the condition of the property. We'll usually use that if there is a seller lease back, as Alex mentioned earlier in one of the terms. We might just want to inspect it one more time to make sure that the condition is the same as when we negotiated the deal, now that that tenant or now that that person that was living in there is out of the property, right?
Yeah.
Compensation is always a big one, right? Who's getting compensated? The brokers. That'll never really change in here. It's always going to have the same kind of representative capacity. What is the broker? Who is the broker? Who is the agent? Even for joint escrow instructions, right? This stuff all has to be spelled out in the contract with the California Association of Realtors. So really kind of standard language that you're going to see in all of those terms. Would you agree, Alex?
Yep.
Remedies for buyer's breach of contract. Usually that just means they can hold your purchase price or the security deposit if you do breach the contract, which is why, to Alex's point, you want to be very familiar with this contract so that you don't find yourself in default. If there was ever an arbitration or dispute, usually you use California law or California arbitration per this contract, right?
Yeah.
Coming down here, assignment, buyer shall not assign the contract. So this is actually put into the CAR form so that you cannot assign that. They do want to make sure that this is, being purchased by the end buyer. And again, you're going to have terms and conditions here broken down so that every one of the terms. And this is something that we've used a couple of times, an expiration of offer clause where you can let people know that this is only valid up until this time or this period on a certain day from the receipt of the offer, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so that has been something that's worked for us several times, and I definitely encourage people to use it. Just basically, hey, you can do a solid, strong offer and just tell them, hey, this thing's gonna expire in 48 hours or whatever that is. So then that way they kind of have to make a decision or get you a counter within that short time frame. And if it's a heavy-handed offer and you know the property really well and you're being aggressive, I mean that wins deals.
I use it often because I'm in the role of an acquisitions director. And so I just let people know right off the bat, like, hey, man, look, I only have approval to buy 2 more houses this month. And I already have 1 locked up. I'm going to see another. So really, if you can't accept this offer by the end of this week, my money's already going to be tied up in this other deal. And I won't be able to move forward with this one. Yeah. So that's an easy way to kind of let them know, like, hey, like Alex said, I have a hard stop here coming up in 10 minutes. And
it communicates to them like, hey, we're making offers on other properties. Like, we're not depending on your deal. So like, we love your deal. We want it, but like, we're making offers and buying other houses too. So, we're not going to lose sleep about your property.
And it's not for every offer, but, certain offers, do warrant it and it makes sense there. So, same thing here, presentation of offer. This is just a standard practice, that these agents have to put in their name and agent information. Really important stuff here. Again, this is now our buyer's inspection advisory, right?
Yeah.
This means that we as the buyer are responsible for finding out any of the square footage, the boundaries, the general condition of the property. We are responsible for that. And Alex is signing here acknowledging that we are aware of that advisory, right?
Yeah.
The Privacy Act, same thing here. This is just letting you know that they're keeping our information private. We're going to get into some Wells Fargo stuff here, so we won't go any further.
Yeah, we don't want to go into that right there.
But this is page 19 of a 19-page CAR form, just so you guys can see entirely what's in there. I do recommend you guys taking a look at one of these because you are going to want to be familiar on both the buyer and seller side.
Yeah, and let me answer a couple questions in the question and answer feature. It says Allison Becker Belcher. Did we answer that?
Yeah, let's answer a couple
Okay, so
questions.
she
in here,
says,
guys.
where does LOI come in? LOI usually is more of a kind of a multifamily kind of term where you're writing a letter of intent, LOI. We're not often doing that. Like we don't ever do that when it comes to, you know, like a single family offer. That's more of a multifamily kind of term. And then that's where we were talking earlier about the like just the range offers, where we're just kind of, this is our intention to buy the property around this price. So Renee, what's up? Shout out to Mr. Cornejo, aka the Beard. Can you renegotiate price after a contract is in place? Yes, if you still have an exit, you know, clause, because if you don't have any exit clause, if you've gone non-contingent, then like you really don't have any exit anymore. You kind of have to move forward on that deal. So that's why you need to, if you are going to renegotiate a deal, we typically going to do it within those 2-3 days. Like, hey, this is where we're at, or whatever our inspection period is, and then we've already inspected the property. So
that's that due diligence period, right? So that's when you kind of have the ability to still renegotiate is during your due diligence. You might do some diligence and pivot because you find that new information, but once that due diligence period is closed, usually it is you know, significantly harder to get.
Yeah, you just don't have any leverage. And then I don't try to renegotiate unless I'm actually in escrow, because if you're trying to renegotiate, you don't even have a deal yet. They can always say no, and then you're, you know, it's like you get a kind of accepted offer, but then you don't open escrow. That's another tip that you should, as soon as you get a contract, you should go open escrow. Now you have an official deal. Just because you have a contract signed doesn't mean it's a deal yet. You have to actually be an open escrow for it to be like enforceable, and where the seller can't back out, you know, on their end. So just keep that in mind. What kind of, and Iris Limas asked, what kind of contract do you write for an owner or heir of a home that has a reverse mortgage? Thank you. It just, there's really not a main difference just because they have a reverse mortgage. I have not seen a difference. It's still going to be the same RPA. You still have to get a payoff from that mortgage lender. Just because it's a reverse mortgage doesn't mean you have to write it on a different contract.
And Eolani is asking about the hard money lender, and that was on section E of the RPA. And we answered that one live, Alex. Like you said, you can either put in their cash, which is just as good as cash. A hard money lender is providing an amount of cash on your behalf.
Yeah. We put cash, but other people put hard money on there. The thing is just, it's kind of shunned upon by agents. Like, oh, you're not true cash. You should not be putting cash, but I don't fucking care. Like, you know, yeah, we're cash. So that's what I put. But yeah, sometimes you have to kind of explain that to the escrow officer. Like, yeah, you said you're going to be cash. Like, why do I have to record a deed now? And it's a little bit more work for the escrow officer, but they're fucking getting paid. So cry me a river. Go do that extra work. I'm paying you to do it. Are you making
Kenny's got a great question, right? About the 5 official offers. And yeah, man, I mean, like Alex said, we have a couple of different acquisitions guys. So depending on the acquisitions channel, you know, our guy that's making cold calls might not be making 5 documented, you know, hard copy signed agreement offers, but he might be making 3 or 4, you know, solid offers over the phone in a daytime. So that can vary depending on what that kind of looks like. So real quick here, Alex, while we still have you on the call for another 2 minutes, can you go over this agreement real quick? So this is just a real estate sale agreement. This is a non-RPA, a lot smaller, right?
Yeah, much easier to fill out. It's much easier to memorize. I kind of go through it. It essentially is just a basic real estate purchase and sale agreement. You put in the seller information, you put in your buyer information, you put the address, county, the parcel number, which is APN. If you go down, you put the basic terms on there as well.
Yep. And you know, when we kind of scroll down, you're still going to have your basic terms, like you mentioned, right, Alex? It's just going to be a lot smaller than an RPA, right?
Yeah, a lot smaller, and you indicate who's paying what closing costs on it, and it's just very simple. My default, I'd love to use these because most of the time we're working directly with sellers and using this paperwork, and the car form is a lot more intense. But you need to know both. So,
hey guys, that's the easiest way to tell what kind of agreement you're working with. This one right here is 2 total pages. This is the bottom right here, page 2 of 2, and you know, like we went over earlier, that CAR form, the RPA, the real estate purchase agreement from the California Association of Realtors, is always going to be 19 pages. So really easy to kind of tell the difference between what kind of offer you're working with.
Yeah,
I'll post a copy of that offer in the Facebook group for you guys so that you guys can all kind of catch up and take a look at that one as well, if that helps.
Everybody needs to go make an offer today now.
Love it. So guys, I know Alex is on a hard stop right now. He's in the middle of a travel trip here. Please keep an eye out on the Facebook group. I'm going to post that in the chat one more time here, just so that anybody who's new to the group and has not had a chance yet to join, please do join that Facebook group. That is where we are going to leave the information about the upcoming meetup that we're going to do out here in California while Mr. Camacho is in town.
For sure, for sure. Any other final questions or comments, concerns, complaints? Speak now or forever hold your peace.
Guys, I want to get everybody who's got their camera on or their mic on, who here is making an offer this week? Turn on your mic and let us know. I know I am making an offer this week. Andy, are you making an offer this week? Amari, are you making an offer this week? Deb, are you making an offer this week? Sergio, who's making offers?
Yes, sir. Making an offer.
Let's go.
Actually, have one in escrow.
Let's go. I love hearing it, guys. Alex, we appreciate your time, brother. Travel safe. If anybody needs anything, you know where to find us. Shoot us a text or a DM on Instagram and find us in the Facebook group. And we'll catch you guys on the flip side.
All right, guys. Aloha from Mexico. Go crush it. Let's go.